Welcome to the sanctuary at Unity Church-Unitarian. I wanted to invite you here into this space today as a reminder for those of us who are familiar with this sanctuary of all the associations and memories we have of gathering here, of worshiping here, of praising and lamenting, of bringing our joys and our concerns and our sorrows into community with one another, and to remember as we do the faith and the love and the bond and covenant that holds us even now when we are unable to gather here physically. Last week, when Shelley Butler and I led worship here, it was Shelley's first time in the sanctuary since the building had been closed for COVID. And she walked into this space and looked up at these rafters and said, "Oh, it feels so good to be embraced by these rafters." And I want us to remember that each of us, even when we are not here, is always embraced by the rafters that preserve and protect the sanctuary of community that we share. It also makes me think about the way in which our spiritual practices have their own rafters, those structures that make sacred space for us in this time of pandemic, when we are creating sanctuaries in our daily lives with our spiritual practices. For the Israelites in biblical times, when the temple was destroyed, it was their spiritual practices that continued to make sacred space in sacred time in their daily lives. For us, it can be so as well. This is one of the reasons why these daily ministers' messages have been emphasizing our spiritual practices, so that we can name and know the ways in which we each have the ability to cultivate sanctuaries in time and space within our daily lives, to do that intentionally in and with our spiritual practices, whatever they are. So for this day, on this message, I invite you to consider, what are the rafters providing structural support in your spiritual life now? What is holding the roof up that shelters you day to day through the changing weather of this time in history? And how are your spiritual practices doing that as well? If you are a person who uses writing as a spiritual practice, as I do, you might just want to ask that question and write from this prompt. The rafters in my daily life that make and hold sacred time and space are. Try writing from that, follow wherever it leads, and see what you discover. And if you have other spiritual practices, I trust you can hold that question as you walk, as you pray, as you meditate, as you go through your day, following whatever your spiritual practice is. Remember these rafters behind me and above me, friends. They are embracing all of us within the community at Unity Church and well beyond. So wherever you are as you watch this message, I hope you feel the embrace of this community, of this sanctuary, making sacred time and space for you. Take good care. Be steady. Be strong.